Welcome to Trauma in Our Veins, where we unpack the chaos of being human, from parenting, mental health, trauma, and everything in between. I'm Maggie.
I'm Erica. Our ground rules are simple. This is a safe space, so be kind. Respect differing opinions. Maggie and I use she, her pronouns for ourselves, and we speak from experience, not misinformation.
Welcome back.
Try again.
What?
I talked at the same time as you did. I'm so sorry.
Okay. Welcome back, listeners. Hey.
We missed you so much, but we have not missed each other because we hang out even when you're not invited. Oh, snap.
Oh, shit. True.
We, as per usual, we do need to put a trigger warning on this episode. We will be discussing the Epstein case. Today, the day we're recording this is April 30th, and it is the last day of Sexual Assault Awareness Month and Domestic Violence Awareness Month, I believe, as well.
Yes.
And lately there has been an ongoing struggle regarding how easily people are forgetting about the Epstein files in particular. And it really is just shining a huge spotlight on how easily this topic is always kind of forgotten or shoved under the rug or back into a closet or whatever. And we wanted to emphasize the importance of not forgetting about what's happening, especially on such a grand scheme as it is. So, trigger warning, those are the things we will be discussing. But we do have a nice fun twist at the end, a Reddit story for you, and it'll be a nice relief. So here we go.
Yes, here we go. First we're gonna give a little, breakdown of what we know so far, and a lot of this information has been coming out this year, so it's all out there. The Department of Justice so far has released over 300 million pages, 180,000 images, and 2,000 videos.
Is it 300 million pages or is it 3 million pages?
3 million.
Okay. Sorry. Yeah. I might have misheard you.
Yeah. No, 3 million, and then 2,000 videos. And so all of those document the sex trafficking crimes of Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell, his girlfriend. The files include flight logs, financial records, emails, which connect to a lot of high-profile figures in politics, business, entertainment. And this continues even after his 2008 conviction. There's also FBI interviews, victims' testimonies, financial ledgers, and emails between Epstein and prominent individuals. So far, what we know, there's lots and lots of mentions of Trump, and I don't have the exact number, but I know he's mentioned, and it was like 30, in the 30,000s range, and it could be more by this point. Also, former U.S. President Bill Clinton, Elon Musk, Prince Andrew, and there's been lots of other ones, but those are like the ones who have been named the most times. So there's been obviously a lot of controversy going on surrounding the files because the release documents had a lot of redactions, especially on some of the public figures I just mentioned. But then they disclosed personal information of some of the survivors. So they failed to redact and protect the survivors and instead chose to protect people like Trump and Elon Musk. So recently, actually earlier this month, April 2nd, Trump fired Attorney General Pam Bondi, and this is after a lot of criticism she faced because of her horrible mismanagement of the files. And so now Todd Blanche is now acting as attorney general. And honestly, he's fucking worse. Like, I hated her, but damn, is he worse. Just yeah, I'm not a fan of him. But anyways, also in the UK, former ambassador Peter Mendelsohn, he resigned from the Labour Party because files revealed that he stayed at Epstein's property while Epstein was in serving his prison sentence. So, yeah, he couldn't run away from that one.
Yeah.
So, also upcoming, and this is going to be this upcoming June, Microsoft co founder Bill Gates and Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick are scheduled to testify before the House Oversight Committee because those two also are named in the files quite a few times. And as of now, we know the Clintons both testified. Unfortunately, those were closed hearings, so we don't really know a lot of what was said. But
And our understanding is that it was closed against the wishes of the Clintons.
yes, they wanted it to be public. And I mean, they haven't denied their connection to Epstein, and they have said that they would be, more than honest and forthcoming. Whatever
Mhm.
that means, because again, we didn't really get to hear much of it. So, currently, though, it's important to talk about the Epstein Files Transparency Act. That was signed into law in November 2025, and it requires the DOJ to publicly release all unclassified records regarding the investigation and prosecution of Epstein. It mandates the disclosure of documents, flight logs, and materials involving Ghislaine Maxwell and other individuals. And it's supposed to prohibit withholding for political sensitivity. Unfortunately, we know that they've violated this Transparency Act multiple times in many, many ways. And as I said before, they failed to redact the victims' names who wanted to be anonymous, which is within their right.
Mhm.
And they have failed to release all the documents within the time frame they were supposed to, and because they redacted a lot of names that were not supposed to be redacted. There's just so many different ways that they violated that.
Mhm.
So, and the one good thing out of that is that they are looking into this and they are trying to resolve that issue. It's just a very slow moving process.
Mm. And we need to make sure that it being slow moving doesn't become only comparison I could think of is a snowball effect, but with time. Of just there comes we've seen it where throughout their handling of these files, they're like, well, we need more time to do it properly. Well, you rushed us, so we couldn't do it properly. But there's a responsibility, and there's a responsibility that you should be working in good faith of the people, not the predators. And that is something we very clearly saw not happen.
Yeah. Yep.
But I just know that in a lot of conversations with um some people who are against the full release of the files and against these are unfortunately the same people who are against I'm trying to figure out how to word this without getting myself in trouble. Following legal proceedings to make serious changes in our current political cast and crew. um but these people that when you talk to them, they really are looking at themselves as an advocate for the victims because they're like, well, they have to have that time in order to do it properly because look, they didn't do it properly. They didn't have time. Now all these victims' names have been released and we're just dragging them all through it again and again and again and again and again. And I do understand that feeling of sympathy for the victims, of course. But what good does your sympathy do them if nothing changes? if there are
Yeah.
no consequences. It's just
Yeah.
something I feel led by the spirit of Loki to emphasize.
Yeah, no, honestly, and it's that's the thing. It's like, okay, if you make that argument that they need the time to do it right, sure. I think quality over quantity should always be
Mhm.
um, prominent when it comes to something like that. However, if they had time to redact Trump's name and, all these
Right.
other individuals, it's like, okay, now that argument really doesn't stand true because
Right.
if you had time to do that.
Yeah, it's like talking to your kids. If you had time to cause all of this mayhem, how could you not have made your bed that I asked you to make an hour ago? Like,
Yeah.
we're one of these things just doesn't belong here.
The math ain't mathin'.
No, no, it does not. I think it's funny
Yeah.
how a lot of these big ticket, like government level, big picture kind of situations often end up being able to be reduced to parenting skills.
Yeah.
We
Well,
should
I
dive into
mean,
that sometime.
human nature,
Mhm.
it's all connected. But as far as like, that accountability we're talking about, I did mention that there are some things upcoming,
Mhm.
or actually that just were announced in the last couple of days, in the last week, but because of the stupid White House correspondent dinner, that has really
Oh
overtaken the
my god.
news, of course, which personally I think was their goal, but
Oh, for
that's
sure.
a whole other thing.
We have our thoughts and opinions about that dinner.
Yes, we do. So, the Government Accountability Office, they announced on April 28th they're investigating the DOJ's handling of the document redactions. So, that's good.
I'll clap for
The
that.
right. The Office of Inspector General on the April 23rd, they said the internal watchdog launched a probe into whether the department fully complied with the law's mandate for transparency. Well, I can tell you they fucking didn't, so I don't
Mhm.
know why you need to probe. Like, it's obvious. But
They just really love a good probe.
yeah, they do. God. So, but it's something. I mean, it's not amazing, but it's something. Uh Obviously there's a ton of conflict going on between, Congress members, not just Republicans and versus Democrats. It's even within each other's, worlds and stuff, which
Mhm.
for instance, Ro Khanna, I believe is how you pronounce their name, and then Thomas Massey, which he's a Republican, but he's accused the DOJ of using the heavy redactions to protect powerful figures. And yeah, he's obviously referring to Trump and others.
Mhm.
Um, so there's been a lot of like conflict and like disagreements within each party. And obviously we've been seeing, for instance, Marjorie Taylor Greene, yes, she
Mhm.
resigned. However, she did have a pretty big support base for a while, and she was a huge
Yeah.
supporter of Trump.
And
And
she was an aggressive supporter of Trump. I feel like that
yes.
adjective needs to be present because, like, that's the it okay. I could go on off on a tangent here. Oh, okay. So, continue.
But yes, no, she was very aggressive, and now she's very much taking the side of, siding with the Epstein survivors and like wanting to advocate for them, which part of me believes it's more so for her own personal platform because she is trying to rebrand herself. However,
Mm.
it's still it's still something because she's
It's
still
still
using her
helpful.
voice. Yeah, she's still using her voice, and by doing that, it's getting this info out there and it's bringing it back to light, which is what we're trying to do because
Yes.
obviously the war with Iran and the recent, shit going on with Trump, all of that has been a distraction from the Epstein files. So that's why we have to keep talking about it. We have to
This
keep, bringing it back.
and this is not to say that we do not understand. There was a whole conversation in our college group about this the other day. Capacity is a real thing, and, uh, look, when you have all of those things all happening at the same time, absolutely, it's overwhelming.
Mhm.
Unfortunately, that's exactly what these people want.
Yeah.
They wanna overwhelm your nervous system so you shut down, and so you stop caring and be the busy little worker bee that they need you to be. Um,
Mhm.
what we are trying to say is that this topic is very personal for us, and, we feel a conviction to make sure it doesn't get forgotten amidst the overwhelm. We're not, like, accusing anybody of failing because of the overwhelm. But we will keep bringing this back to light, and this is us explaining why.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, even like last month in March, we're seeing more documents were released. They were withheld from the FBI. There was like over 300 summaries, and they were detailed interview notes where a woman alleged she was sexually assaulted by Donald Trump in the 80s, and she was a minor at the time. And the White House just dismissed and said it was baseless. Like, that's what they're trying to do when survivors come forward. This
Mhm.
survivor came forward in 2019, and that incident happened in the 80s.
Yeah.
So that just like when people try to say, like, why would someone wait so long? It's like, gee, I fucking wonder why.
Think about who
This,
you're dealing with, the fear. And if back then in the '80s, if you disappeared, no one was ever gonna know what happened.
yeah,
I think that there's something to say for people feeling more security about coming forward with things now because they know that there are ways to prove not necessarily what happened back then, but who this person is now. And if
yeah,
anything further were to happen as we're now looking back at the Kurt Cobain death and we're looking back at all of these things and finding out that they weren't necessarily what we were told they were at the time. So now there's a confidence, not necessarily in the system, but just in the world's ability to see what's happening when the information is actually given to them.
yeah. And it's interesting too to look at, and you can look at this with any, high profile person that's died. I
Mhm.
mean, whether it's Michael Jackson or, some of the more recent people that we've lost that are considered celebrities or just high profile people, whatever. But when you look at the controversial and like just the uh obvious disconnect and division with what side people are taking, and like saying, there's the conspiracy theory people,
Mhm.
and then there's the naysayers, then there's the, people that think just very black and white, and then yeah, it's just like it's so all over the place is my point,
Mhm.
and like I brought up Michael Jackson just because I felt like his death created so much controversy because all these there there's these people that were trying to say that he was a pedophile, but then
Mhm.
he was trying to out pedophiles, and then there's people that said he was murdered, but then the autopsy said it was a heart attack. Like there's all these misinformation and different
Mhm.
information that's going around, and that just makes it so much harder for all of us to really know, like, what is even real or what is true. And it's like
Yeah.
the government is trying to tell us that all these people that have come forward about Trump or Epstein are making it up, or it's baseless, or there's no evidence to prove that. But really, it's like the more they say that, the more obvious it is that they're fucking lying.
And
Like,
also, not for nothing, it used to take one eyewitness I understand that the one eyewitness thing has been abused, but we're not talking about one. We're talking about 38,000 mentions over 5,000 documents. Like,
Yeah.
oh, ugh. I get that we cannot convict based on hearsay. I totally understand that and I support that. Um, at what point do we say, okay, we have enough witnesses to be like, maybe he's not such a great dude?
Yeah.
It's just so aggravating. It really is just so aggravating. And I'm getting a little heated in my head, but I feel like I'm controlling it very well. And it's
You
just,
are.
oh, thank you. Um, it just really is. It makes me angry because it's like we talked about Bill Clinton was impeached for a blowjob. Uh Nixon was accused and nearly impeached and resigned right away for spying on people.
Yeah.
Now we have a president who has done both of those things for sure, and many others that we have seen, and many others that we have now heard about to the thousands.
Yeah. And even
And
allegations of murder.
yep, of children.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh. And it's just
Yeah.
like maybe individually one or two of these stories are not true. Maybe even 100 of them are not true. Maybe even 1,000 of them are not true, but that still leaves 37,000.
Yeah. It still
Let
leaves way too much.
let that shit sink in and tell me that look at the Rape Academy situation that we're having. People are arguing over semantics. People are like, "Oh, well, it's 62 million men." No, it's not 62 million men. It's 62 million visits in 1 month.
Yeah, 1 month.
1 month.
That's
The shortest month of the year. Ooh, okay, take it down.
yeah.
Yeah.
And if you don't know about it, look into it. CNN did a full expose on it, and it is disturbing to say the least. But
It is oh,
it really just sheds light on how deep this problem really goes and how it's a worldwide issue. It's not just an issue in the US, it's worldwide, like it's global. And
yes.
Epstein had ties globally. He wasn't just connected here. And so that's why we're seeing other countries actually taking action about it as these
Mhm,
names are getting dropped and more, evidence is being released proving that people were connected to him.
mhm.
And, so other countries are taking action, but here we're being gaslit daily.
Yep.
And so that's why we're talking about this because it's, we're not going to let them gaslight us.
No. 'Cause guess what, bitch? You turned down those motherfucking lights. They're flickering because of you.
Yeah. Well, and one thing that I am curious about too is how do people not automatically see red flags when there's also just a lot of missing pages
Mhm.
from the release of the files, like especially the internal communications and then also some of the claims of the accusers with like the FBI interviews. There's no like trail of the aftermath or how it was resolved or the FBI's determination of
Right.
did an interview with blah 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 and we decided that her claims were baseless or we decided her claims
Mhm.
do have basis for follow through and in an investigation. Like there's a lot of that that's missing, and
Yeah.
that is a huge red flag about our FBI.
Mhm.
Like, seriously? The FBI. Like,
Yeah.
they're supposed to be protecting us, you know?
Well, so's the
And
government, so are the police, so are a lot of people are supposed to be protecting us.
I know, and
Ugh,
more and more we're seeing that's not the case. But this has
definitely.
been I feel like the biggest mishandling of
Oh,
injustice. that's
would
happened.
say absolutely. Especially, I mean, we're beyond grand scale right now. Like you said, it's global.
Yeah.
And the rest of the world is looking at us, seeing what's happening in the rest of the world and laughing at us, and also low key like, "Are you guys okay?" Which side?
Yeah.
No, we're not.
No.
Um,
Yeah, no,
but it's literally you're hearing it from all over the world on social media about how, guys, like, how is your president still president? How is he still there? Because, like we said, 38,000 mentions. Like, what are we talking about? And you've got freaking professors at Harvard stepping down from one
Mhm.
mention. You've got like,
Yeah.
ow,
Yeah.
ow.
It's honestly crazy to me, and I mean, I'm hoping everybody saw or is aware that earlier this month on the 9th, Lady Melania Trump, she did a surprise public
Mm,
statement from the White House, and she took a stance basically saying that she didn't have a connection to Epstein, and she was demanding an end to false smears linking her to his crimes. And she said she was not friends with Epstein or his accomplice, Ghislaine Maxwell, never visited his island, never flew on his private plane, and never had a relationship with them. Interesting. And interestingly enough, Trump wasn't even aware that she was doing this press conference. It
mm,
was definitely a surprise to him. And she didn't she did not make a statement about Trump's name being cleared from all of
mm,
this. Only
mhm,
herself. So I want to point that out. And she also claimed, I have never had any knowledge of Epstein's abuse of his victims. I was never involved in any capacity. I was not a participant. I am not Epstein's victim. So she also denied rumors that Epstein introduced her to Trump, saying that they met in 1998. She also, there was an email where there was an email to Ghislaine Maxwell characterizing it as casual correspondence in a trivial note. So again,
mm,
she was trying to minimize her connection and social interactions with Maxwell and Epstein. So she also called on Congress to hold a public hearing for Epstein's victims to testify under oath, saying that each and every woman should have her day to tell her story in public if she wishes. Now, my initial thoughts after hearing this, I was like, wow, this is interesting. I wasn't expecting this.
mhm.
Like maybe she really meant all these things, and like
Yeah.
but then when I started seeing some of the survivors' responses to her, and they even wrote a letter responding to her, they were like, we've done enough. We've fucking given you everything. And what are you guys doing? You're sitting on your hands. Like, nothing's
Mhm.
happening. There's no accountability. And here you are demanding that we do more work, we put more effort into, when it's like, no, are you kidding me? Like, we're not the offenders here.
Right.
And
And
so,
not for nothing, she's like, "Oh, well, they should have a chance to tell their stories." What have they been trying to do this
yeah.
whole time? That's exactly what they've been trying to do, and no one will let them, and then when they do, no one does anything with the information.
And I mean, we've seen this happen before, but it's also, I feel like, something that we see a lot of times in media, like movies and shows, where people that are going on their way to court to testify end up getting taken or killed or randomly disappeared. So do you really think survivors of a like multi-billion-dollar industry sex trafficking ring, do you really think they're going to feel safe going to a congressional hearing?
Right.
No, the fuck they aren't. I wouldn't.
Yeah. That's
I,
like
I would.
literally going into the lion's den. Like,
Yeah, Yes. And that's the thing. It's like you're expecting them to do this, but it's like, where's the guarantee? Like, she did not once guarantee their safety.
Right.
It'd be different if she said, "This is what will provide you to guarantee your safety if you testify in front of Congress." But no, there was none of that. So
And
how would
also
anyone trust her?
that, and also it just seems a little bit like grandstanding. Like you're just having a press conference. You're not doing anything. You're just saying, "Oh, this should be what happens." And that means that I've put in my 2 cents and I'm exonerated from any blame. It's just like,
Yeah.
no, that's not how that works, sweetie.
So because of that, I had to look into, why did she do this? Like, what was her motivation, or was it more of a response? And so I looked into
Mm.
it, and this is when I came across Amanda Ungaro. And if you don't know about her, look her up, her story. It's intense. She is an ex model. She's from Brazil. She was friends with Melania for 20 years. They modeled together, and they were introduced to Epstein, and Amanda was actually brought to the US on Epstein's plane when she was 16. She was trying to build a new life in South Florida with her teenage son. Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, the wording of that sounds weird. So she was on Epstein's plane when she was 16. As an adult, like later on when
Okay.
she had a teenage son.
Again, the math. The
Far
math is weird today.
yeah, the wording of that, like, it was not separated, so it was very weird. She so now she has a teenage son, is what I meant to say, and she's no longer a part of the modeling world. And she did that in New York, and she ended up having a relationship with what is his name? I will come across it in a second. Sampoli. I don't know if I'm saying that right. Um, he also is a powerful figure, and I'll get into a little bit of more of who he is. But Amanda was with him, and mind you, she was a minor when they were in a relationship, and so I want to say he either like owned the modeling agency she worked for. I can't remember, but we'll get into that. So a few years ago, so I think in actually no, it was last year. Sorry. Last year she ended up getting arrested by ICE, and she was deported back to Brazil. And so she claimed, or like according to her, she said that her ex, Zampoli, called in a friend with Trump to get her deported, and then he took
Mm,
custody of their teenage son. And so
sus.
she pretty much lost everything. And so would you say this is revenge? Maybe. She says she's ready to tell the truth and fight back. She said she has nothing left to lose. And she lost her son with the custody battle with a powerful man with powerful ties. But she's been posting on X and other platforms. For instance, she said, "I will tear down your corrupt system, even if it's the last thing I do in my life. I will go all the way. I am not afraid. Maybe you should be afraid of what I know, of who you are, and who your husband is." And she said that on April 8th and tagged Melania in that post.
Ooh,
So that
said it
was,
to her face.
mm-hmm.
We love a
She,
bitch burning shit down.
yep. She threatened legal action against Melania and your pedophile husband.
Mm.
And also to Pam Bondi, she said in a post, "Do you fully understand the information I possess regarding you and the individuals associated with you? I strongly advise you to consider the seriousness of these matters. Any actions taken against me or attempts to escalate this situation could have significant legal consequences." So, after Melania's little press conference statement, Amanda posted the following. I have nothing left to lose in my life. I will tear down the entire system. Be careful with me, bitch. And
Yes.
so, and then Amanda did a phone interview from Brazil and confirmed that she did post those remarks on X. She said she felt very betrayed by Melania, with whom she had been friends with for 2 decades. She
Mhm.
said she did have an expired visa, and before she got arrested by ICE, she had applied for a new one. She tried to reach out to Melania and then learned that Zampoli, her ex, was responsible for having her picked up by ICE. She spent 3 months in a Miami detention center before she was deported in October.
Mm.
And Zampoli, her ex, he is now 56 years old, is a former modeling agent who met Amanda when she was 17. So, yeah. They were together
Figures.
for 2 decades and worked as diplomats in the first Trump administration. She was a UN ambassador to Grenada, and Zampoli was ambassador to Dominica, both Caribbean nations. He now serves as a special envoy for global partnerships in the Trump administration and remains close to him and the First Lady. He has said that he introduced Trump to Melania, so he is trying to claim that Epstein wasn't the one who introduced Melania to Trump.
Right.
He's trying to take credit. So Zampoli, who Trump appointed to the Kennedy Center board, this is all starting to sound
Hearing
very
lots
interesting.
of familiar names around this town.
Uh-huh. uh, Reached out to a top ICE official and asked Amanda to be deported, according to the New York Times. The Times reported that the official, David Venturella, called ICE's Miami office to ensure that agents would pick her up from jail before she could be given bail.
Huh.
So, again, this is Amanda's story, and she's been very public about it. So, I'm not making it up. And
Yeah.
again, I can't say she is or isn't. So, for fuck's sake, we will say allegedly until we really know.
We should just
But
change the title of our podcast to allegedly.
fuck's sake, allegedly. So, so who is Sampoli? We know his role as far as like what he's done in the administration, but his name has been mentioned about a dozen times in the Epstein files. So the files do show that he was in Epstein's orbit around the time that Trump met Melania in 1998. And at one point, he was friends with the financier, and the two discussed a business deal over buying a modeling agency. So the records show that.
So, okay,
And
so that makes so much okay, I really was gonna say something, like, how the fuck do we get from modeling agent to ambassador?
right?
How the hell?
Exactly. Exactly. And this is why I will tell all of our lovely listeners, if you haven't looked into it before, do a deep dive into the modeling agencies. Not well, globally too, like, not just
Yeah,
here, but I'm telling you, there's a lot of fucked up, corrupted, shady shit going on, and that has been going on for a long time, and, like,
and that our
not just
governments are more involved in than they would have you believe.
exactly. Yeah, so that's why it's a very interesting thing to look into if you haven't already, and, I think I will say, like, overall, modeling has always had a little bit of stigma, but not
Mhm.
for the right reasons. It was always stigma towards the models, not the
Yes,
agencies itself, and that's what we need to change. But
and
think
that
about it.
I feel like that was the beginning of, like, mass big picture victim blaming. Not the
Mhm.
beginning per se, but I think it was just, like, a big catalyst to it because it was
Yeah.
like a social experiment. Maybe if we just tell everybody they're stupid, we can do whatever we want with them. Fucked.
Yeah. Dude, exactly. And that's actually what I was going to say was that I feel like the modeling agency is a huge culprit to why there's so much victim blaming and just the shame behind, modeling and sex work and all of that in general. I think just a lot of that stigma is, again, it's, well, are we going to look at who's behind all of it? Really? Like,
Mhm.
that's what we need to be doing. And the fact of the matter is, whether Epstein or Zampoli were, who cares which one of them introduced who to who? The
Yeah.
fact is, they're all connected regardless. And why are we not caring about that more? Like,
Again, we are getting caught up in semantics.
mhm.
Like, this is not the important thing. I again, parenting, I say this to my children so much. They argue with me about these little details, and I'm like, "Okay, but you still have to clean your room." Like, "But but it has chocolate." "Okay, you still have to clean your room."
Yeah,
Oh
but,
my
like,
god.
it still doesn't change the facts here,
Mhm.
like, or what the outcome should be, and I think
Yes.
this is why so many of us are so pissed off, because the outcome is not happening the way it should be, or the way we want, or the way we need it to happen, and just seeing some ounce of justice, like, we need that,
Yeah.
and it's not like,
We need hope.
I mean, dude, even if only one survivor story could be, like, truly proven 100% with so much evidence that nobody could dispute it, even if just one,
Mhm.
and the abuser was Trump, that should still be fucking enough.
It should.
And clearly, like, even with his felony indictments for
Mhm.
sexual abuse and then all the other financial shit, and he still is our president.
And
Like,
with so much support. Like, I understand that his support level has technically gone down, but how is it still at, like, 30%? That's
yeah,
1 out of
and
3. That's 1 out of 3 people.
dude, but when you think about uh the 62 million and then you think about the 30%, it starts to really paint that picture of, oh,
Yeah.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
it's just disturbing. And I hate to say that, like, that's the reason why he's still there, but
But it
it is.
is. He's surrounded by people who have power because they are the same kind of people who have always had power.
Yeah.
And it's just, it's like a bubble that can't be popped.
And think about all the people so far in his regime that have gone down. Mostly being females, but there have been quite a few men too recently. And think about, if you look at their past employment history, as you will, uh, and then how they got into the Trump regime and then
Mhm.
why they fell. It's it's very interesting because it's just like, it shows that he's willing to knock down anyone that's below him. He doesn't give a fuck about any
Oh,
of these
yeah.
people,
He's
and
not
the
gonna
fact
save
that,
you in the end. You're no more
no, I
important
mean,
to him than any of the rest of them were.
mhm, Pam Bondi, perfect example. She was
And
one of his lawyers, like, so
and now she still has to testify, even I believe so. I believe that is what I saw, that she still is gonna have to testify, even though they were trying to say, "Oh, well, she's not AG anymore, so she can't testify."
yeah, they tried, but she's gonna have to.
Yeah.
And she's either, I to be honest with you, I still believe she's gonna perjure herself, but
Well,
but that alone is gonna fuck her over.
it
So,
will. Well, I mean, who knows? Nothing is fucking anyone over right now. Um,
except
but
Kat Patel.
yeah,
He's
well,
He's
Well.
next. If you guys haven't seen, he's definitely the next one.
Oh, yeah, but we kinda saw he was always kind of a nervous one. He was gonna break.
Dude,
Um,
his eyes, like, he
oh,
always
the
just looked.
sweat, the
Yeah.
sweat.
Oh,
But anyways, my concern is that whether she appears at this hearing or not and testifies or not, whatever, she's just gonna keep doing what she's done this whole time, which is talk bullshit and not actually answer the questions. I hope I'm wrong. I sincerely hope I'm wrong. I hope she takes some notes from Amanda Ungaro and
mhm.
says, "You know what? Fuck it. I'm not in that shit anymore," even though I'm pretty sure wasn't she reassigned to something else? Oh, no, or was she the one that left for the private sector? I can't remember. We talked about all that last time. But can you take a note from her page and be like, "You know what? What do I have to lose? Burn this shit to the ground."
Yeah, just yeah, bring it down. I mean, at that point, it's
Allegedly.
yeah, allegedly. Uh, but I just really like Amanda has truly become my hero, and the sad thing is, like, when you do look into her, there's not a ton of stuff on Google. Like, there is stuff. Like, I did find a lot of things, but, like, I feel like they're really trying to hide her because she's going directly at the first lady. So, I mean, look into it and believe what you will, whatever. But I love that she's getting the revenge that she fucking deserves, and I do hope that she gets her child back soon because that whole thing is shitty, and like the
Yeah.
fact that this she had to be with this guy for 20 years and it probably was coerced, like I
Right.
doubt she really loved him, and just like the age difference too. It's just
Yeah.
so creepy.
Absolutely.
So creepy. But I I also really wanted to honor uh Virginia, and forgive me if I say her last name wrong, but I want to say
I
it's
I think it's Jufrey.
Jufrey. Yeah,
I
okay.
think it's Jufrey.
Yeah. Okay. I hope we got that right. But
If we're wrong, please don't come at us.
yeah,
We tried.
it is a very interestingly spelled last name. But Virginia, we're gonna call her that. She died a year ago in April of 2025, and she's one of the most known survivors of Epstein. She wrote a book about her experience, a lifetime of abuse by powerful people, and still, people didn't believe her story. And I wanted to talk about her because recently her family held an anniversary vigil for her, and it was ahead of King Charles III coming to the US. And this vigil was the same night of the White House correspondent dinner, actually.
Oh, wow.
And so, think what you will. Was that connected? I don't know. Allegedly.
Can't
Uh,
say.
so, but Virginia, she died a year ago, and her best friend Maria Farmer actually wrote a letter to her, and I wanted to read it. It's a little long, but it's beautiful, and it was meaningful for me to read, and so I hope that it's meaningful for our listeners. And if Virginia's listening, then I hope she gets to hear it again. So,
Mm.
Virginia, I've missed you every day. It's been a year where you've changed everything. Your love will be eternal, and you would be so deeply proud of your family for continuing your vital legacy. Your family and survivors are finally being heard. My sister, Annie Farmer, helped pass a law to force the DOJ to release the Epstein files. Predators such as Andrew Mountbatten Windsor are finally being held accountable for what they did to you, and a video that included you was projected onto Windsor Castle's wall. You did something that no one else did. And every day, your sister survivors work tirelessly around the clock to ensure the nightmare doesn't happen again. Sometimes it's hard to believe that any of this has actually happened. We both know that talking about something, saying it out loud, can be the action that makes an event actually feel real. For so many years, you were the person who listened. You witnessed my life, and that meant it was real, in reality. It was a rare gift for someone who spent so many years ignored and unheard. In 1996, I contacted the New York City Police Department and FBI to tell the same story that is being told today. In the mid-90s, Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell lied to my family, lured me to isolated locations, and sexually abused and assaulted me. Then they threatened my life and well-being if I were to ever report what happened. I just wanted to protect my little sisters and the other teenagers out there being deceived and destroyed by Epstein and Maxwell's dark web of trafficking and abuse. I wanted to protect you, Virginia, even before I knew you. So I did what everyone is told to do. I went to the FBI, hoping for help from those meant to keep us safe from harm. Instead, they hung up on me. For a decade, I lived under threats of violence and destruction under Maxwell. A decade later, in 2006, the FBI contacted me again. The officers came to our homes, interviewed us, and instructed us to testify in the federal trial in Florida. They promised that Epstein, Maxwell, and their accomplices would be held accountable. Then they abandoned us. We felt duped again. I can't imagine telling that version of myself all we would achieve in the next 20 years. I think she would have been proud of us. I think she would have been so grateful and relieved to know I found a friend like you along this deeply painful road. I wouldn't have made it this far without your friendship and your faith. You are the reason I am surviving cancer. It is the strength you gave me that kept me moving forward when it felt so much easier to quit. It can make you feel crazy having so many people ignore you or disbelieve you or simply not care about what happened to you at all. But I had you, Annie, and other survivors like Marjik Chartouni who always understood the truth. That courage keeps me going today. I'm sure it won't surprise you to know that we still have a long way to go. With your family and friends by my side, anything is possible. Though more files have been released, countless others have been unjustly kept out of the public eye, including my full 1996 FBI report. Those that have been made available are redacted, inconsistently and ineffectively, putting survivors at risk while prioritizing the protection of powerful predators. Across the ocean, Prince Andrew has been stripped of his title and evicted from his royal residence, and former British Ambassador Peter Mandelson has been arrested. But in the US, billionaires like Les Wexner face no consequences. The FBI continues to ignore the voices of survivors, to shirk its most essential responsibility to the American people, including our children. There are still days when I wonder if anyone is listening. Your book is a bestseller. Millions of real people picked it up because they wanted to listen to your story. You are finally being heard. You'll always be remembered as a champion for protecting vulnerable young teenagers like yourself. You and I often wondered what would have happened to those countless people Epstein and Maxwell victimized had the FBI taken us seriously all those years ago. How many would have lived normal, happy lives and never known the humiliation and terror of their abuse? The devastation Epstein and Maxwell caused was not inevitable. It was a decision made every day for decades. You promised your daughter she would grow up in a better world than the one you and I inherited. Through your relentless activism and powerful voice, that promise has come true. one where criminals are held to account and kept far away from the levers of power, one where children are protected like our most valuable resources, because they are. We're still walking down the trail you blazed for us, Virginia. I can't wait for you to see how far we go. This never gets easier, or maybe it just hasn't yet, but every time I've called on my courage, you delivered it right to my doorstep. I want to thank you for always doing that, even still. I miss you. I love you. Maria.
Yeah. So, when we're talking about why we can never forget and why we won't let it go, it is because these are real people's real lives that were stolen, that were abused, that were gaslit and ignored. We've got thousands of people spread across millions of documents and the consequences that people are facing. As they used to say, the punishment does not fit the crime. Um, People aren't taking it seriously, and it is serious, and it is ingrained so deeply in not only our society but others. We're talking about former Prince Andrew. That I don't even know if that's ever happened before, but the only arrests that are happening are either a woman, the one guy, and not in the States. Those are the qualifiers. If you're in the United States and you're not Jeffrey Epstein or Ghislaine Maxwell, you're probably good. You're probably safe. And that's why we're angry because you're just allowing us to be the place that all of these terrible things can happen to human beings with little to no consequence.
Yeah.
And, we make light and make jokes about, burning the world down and being proud of the women who do it. And it's like, "Oh, well, aren't you just being violent in the other direction?" No, we're being truthful about our feelings, about the fact that we've been dismissed for so long as a group, as a gender. Um, and unfortunately, we still even have women on that side of the aisle saying stuff like, "Oh, she taught me um, that one kind of woman can be a great asset to a man, or she can be a warm, wet hole." This is a woman talking about women, and the the patriarchy is so strong, and we don't understand how in the light of everything else that's going on, people still can't see it. And, we with the whole regards to, oh, violence in the opposite direction, we're not burning things down. That's the difference. Like, we're using imagery and we're using our words and our free speech. But the reason why we haven't gotten out of this position, in my humble opinion, as, a 35-year-old expert on everything, um, is
Yes.
not because we can't. It is because we have a moral compass that says the actions that would most easily get us out of the position in which we find ourselves are violent. And to us, they are morally wrong, regardless of your partisan status, your racial status, because let's face it, that equates to a fucking status now. Not now, always.
Mhm.
Your gender identity, all of these things, we don't we don't want to play by their rules. We want to play by what is right and what is wrong. And when we really look at something, is it semantics or is it right or wrong? Because we can argue about which religion is right or wrong and which country does it best and which economic style is the right one or the wrong one. But the question it breaks down to is, are you hurting someone and could you not? So when we're talking about, why women are so upset, we've gone over all these facts and all these things, and we will continue to do so. We want to know about the facts. The facts absolutely are a huge and talk about priority. Like facts are at the top of our priority list for sure. But if no one's listening to the facts with, I hate to say with the right ears or wrong ears after everything I just said, but if you're not open to doing something about it, you're just spouting facts into the void. If there isn't a motivation behind it of making change, we always obviously want peaceful change. We are not proponents of violence. But we are proponents of taking a firm stance. And unfortunately, because women have put themselves in this, I hate that. Never mind, scratch that. We didn't put ourselves in shit. We have taken ourselves above the violence and the things that we could do, but we feel are wrong, does not mean that we're going to keep taking your shit. And we are looking at women like Amanda and like Virginia and like Maria, who are not afraid to make waves in order to make change. We're talking about why women are upset, why feminism has become so closely interchangeable with just angry. We have to look past what our written morals are and into our law does not equal right, as it is not possible for it to account for every fucked up thing that one human can do to another. You're not going to ever have that. You have to be able to look at a scenario, measure it with your perspective in mind, with the other person's perspective in mind, and your critical thinking skills, and find the moral ground wherever it is and not be afraid to stand up for that moral ground. People lie on both sides of the aisle. We know this, we've seen this, but the people in power cannot be under the same level of scrutiny as those not in power. Men, for the most part, not all, but for the most part, men who have put themselves in positions that they cannot be removed from. And they think they cannot be removed from. But a prince lost his title. Like, we have people who have been named with credible evidence, yet they're somehow getting swept away with the people who were incidentally there, just because no one videotaped what happened. It used to be that one eyewitness testimony was enough. Now we have hundreds, even thousands of occurrences that are being called coincidental or baseless, or they just can't be proven. How are so many people on our level of things in jail or in prison for marijuana possession, but our president is not even being investigated for 38,000 mentions over 5,000 documents? We are going to keep saying these numbers and these facts, but we also want you to feel the feeling behind the fact. We need to come back to our critical thinking and remembering people's human perspective. And we have the perfect exercise to do it. Are you ready, Mags?
Yes.
We're going to talk about Aqua Tofana. So, we're talking about, what women can do, but we don't do. I have a lovely lady to introduce you to, and her name is Giulia Tofana. Giulia Tofana was an Italian woman, and we are going to read a Reddit story about her. All
Yes.
right. So the title of this one is something that has been kind of toyed with throughout the episode because we're talking about morality versus law. The title is What Do You Guys Here Think of People Who Celebrate Women Like Julia Tofana? This was posted in our Not How Guys Work, and it was deleted. or the username is deleted. I don't know. But
Oh, yeah.
it says, I recently got into a fight with a male friend on if it's okay to celebrate historical figures like Julia Tofana. It has since become a whole friend group issue with people taking sides. So what is your opinion? For context, in Italy, for a very long time, as in most of the world, it was illegal for a woman to divorce her husband, even if abuse was present. In the 17th century, a woman named Julia Tofana, a very skilled poisoner, dedicated her life to providing women in abusive situations undetectable for the time poisons that would allow the abuse victim to rid themselves of the abuser. She has, over the last couple of decades, become a huge feminist figure in Italy, to my understanding. My friend argued that because Julia Tofana most likely got a few innocent men killed through her practices, that she should not be celebrated. I argue that while I can't deny that, she mostly did good and would provide poison to women claiming abuse. It's also important that what she represents to a lot of women is what also makes her a big figure. So, what are your takes on this? First, I want to go over kind of my take on it, and then Maggie, if you want to give your take, and then we'll go to some of the comments and get some more information.
Yeah.
So my take is difficult. I don't like the well, she mostly did good, so her bad isn't uh doesn't matter. I don't want to say that, but she did not know at that point she was a resource. She was doing something good, in my opinion. Something morally good, trying to free women of men who had absolutely no recourse. Um the women that she was helping had no recourse other than this, and their lives were being threatened. Their survive not even their lives probably, but think about this is 17th century. Your husband could do whatever he wanted to do to you. You remember the thing from Boondock Saints about the rule of thumb?
Yeah.
The rule of thumb is that men were allowed to beat their wives with a stick as long as it was no wider than their thumb. Um, this is the world that these women were in, and they had absolutely no way to escape, and she was offering an escape. What I would say is that the moral wrong would fall on the women who lied to get the poison to poison their husbands. That's where the moral wrong lies. Um, so I absolutely celebrate Julia Tofana as someone who stood up for what was needed to save people from hell on earth. And she was fucking smart. She like made this poison and put it in perfume bottles and makeup and stuff so that
Mhm.
she could sell it to women so that they could then go do what they want. I think the reason she ended up getting caught is that one of the women grew a conscience and told her husband what she was about to do before she did it and explained like how she got the poison and whatnot. And so that was the downfall. And she and her daughter, who was also involved, were executed.
Yeah, and I wanna point out too that, including her daughter, and she had some other assistants as well, they believe that she poisoned over 600 men before she was caught, and then
Mhm.
she confessed under torture, and they were executed in 1659.
Ugh,
Yeah. Dude, that's so
torture.
long ago. But
Right? But
she
this is how long-standing of an
600?
issue this is, people. This
Yeah,
is how long-standing this issue is. And yeah, over 600.
600. That
Over 600.
is impressive.
Right?
I
Impressive.
like, okay, think what you want, but like, damn, that's I mean,
Mhm.
true serial killer right there.
For
Um,
sure. That's the
but that's
expert mode.
yeah, but that's the thing, like, was she really a murderer or was she a savior? I think especially back in that time, and sadly, like, this still is an issue as well, like, globally. Like, it's still an issue here. There's certain states that you can't get divorced, and according to Project 2025, they are trying to go back to that, where states that have no fault divorce, like, they're trying to get rid of that and go back to what it used to be. And it makes it really hard for women, especially, to leave their husbands, even if there is abuse. And so
Mhm.
we know that's still a problem. And so I think, though, back to that time, this is the 1600s, like, so hundreds of years ago. And, like,
Mhm.
if people were that desperate, like, and there was literally no escape, I mean, I, I have to imagine that that did seem like probably the only course of action at that
Yeah.
time. Either you stab him to death, and
Mhm.
that's more
Which is
obvious.
obvious.
Yeah, yeah, so obvious. You can't really hide that unless,
Mhm.
I don't know, maybe there was a
Unless
way
you're
to hide
Dexter.
bodies.
Unless you're
Yeah,
Dexter.
unless Dexter's ancestors, like,
Mm.
um,
They didn't have
but, like,
plastic back then. I wonder what they would have used.
probably, like, linen or curtains, like that, more like,
Mm.
cloth material, rugs maybe. Um, I don't know when
Squirrel. It
rugs
doesn't
were
matter.
invented. But anyways, but no, I was actually thinking too, like, probably back then it was really common to throw bodies into the water and have weights around the body.
Mhm.
So, like, I'm curious if they found any bodies that way. But anyways, that's, yeah. It it's very interesting. So her poison, it had arsenic, belladonna, and lead. So it
Yes.
only took a few drops to kill someone. That is very potent. And back then it was undetectable, but I think now that would be very
Yes,
detectable.
that they would find it aqua tofana is not a thing anymore, you guys. You can't do that.
Yeah, it's
Oh,
that's just
but it's important also to note that she and one of the conditions of being able to purchase the aqua tofana, I read this earlier, was that the wife had to ask for an autopsy. Had to,
Mm,
because it made it so that the law ruled that it was not a homicide and it couldn't be investigated anymore, I guess. But yeah, she made that a condition of, before she would give you any. You
mhm.
had to promise to ask for an autopsy. Just an interesting little tidbit.
Well, and back then too, this is during the time when people couldn't choose who they got to marry. So their
Yes.
fathers would get to choose. And so when you already don't have autonomy and then you're being abused and treated like shit, it's like, okay, yeah, desperation. So honestly, to me, I view her as a hero, or I guess I wouldn't say hero, vigilante, because she was trying to save people that were in harm's way and that had no other option. I'm sorry, like, no one could argue what their other course of action could be. Like,
Mhm.
maybe now there might be slightly few more options. Like, now we have shelters, we have programs that help, kind of like witness protection programs. Like, we have stuff in place now. However, it's still very difficult to leave in
Mhm.
those situations.
Because it was made to be by men on purpose so that they could get away with doing this shit. Let's not forget that part.
Yeah. So, I mean, you tell me, like, if you're in that situation and you're desperate, would you go to someone who makes poison? Fuck yeah, I would.
And let's also not forget, you have to think this is not just wives. These are mothers of children that are also being impacted by this man in this household. And if they have daughters, God help them. Like, this is so much deeper of an argument or discussion than just, well, poisoning's wrong. Like, yeah.
And you know what's interesting too is like, so they executed her and four other women,
Mm.
and they were accused of not only murder but witchcraft. So because they were using herbs and worked at an apothecary, they're known as witches. And so you have like this is also around that time of the stigma, like that's when that started of, oh, you're a witch, therefore you're doing evil witchcraft
Mm.
and
Mhm.
harming people. And so it's like, I don't know, when you look at, history, whether it's the Salem trials or any of these other instances, which
Mhm.
also the stories of witches from history, like we were told a very different version of what they were. So
Oh, yeah.
it is worth deep diving into it just to
Yeah.
like really see how far back this has gone and how it influenced like Christianity's view of
Mhm.
uh anything to do with like apothecary and witch and astrology and all that stuff, which
Mm.
another side tangent but related to what I just said. uh I was listening to someone talking about Christianity versus astrology, and he made it a point that like astrology has always been a part of all religions, because even in the Bible it talks about how the skies and stars will give you signs, and that it talks about in Genesis God creating the skies and the stars and the universe and all that shit. So like
Yeah.
literally it is like, and even the what the three wise men were when Jesus was born?
They were star stalkers.
They were astrologers.
Arr.
Yeah, it's just so it's hilarious to me, like thinking about all that and realizing
Yep.
just how uh yeah, just how uh prejudiced
Yep.
Christianity, like, and how that influenced how people view other
Yep.
religions and astrology, and how they try to make that its own religion and say, "Oh, that's woo woo, that's evil." And it's like, are you
Mhm.
kidding me? It's literally a part of us. Like,
I I think that's
we're
important. That's an important, a point is that we're talking about perspective and critical thinking. It's all about whose perspective you're hearing. You have to be able to take that into consideration before you're making an end all be all judgment. And even then, I don't even think I believe in end all be all judgments anymore. I really don't, because you can always find new information. I like how this one comment says it. Because I don't like using today's morals to judge people from different eras and cultures. However, I struggle to see her as anything but a hero, especially considering how women were treated. I wouldn't use the word innocent in a society where laws didn't recognize marital rape or abuse. Vigilantes are often born because the social/legal structure promotes violence and oppression against groups of people. And it's just that if that don't sum it up, because it's all of these things can be said in two different ways.
Another interesting thing about like Julia's backstory is so obviously once there was word that this was happening, that men were being killed or dying, and there were a lot of them. So when it first reached the news reached ears that men were dying like flies, even in the city that was also ravaged by plague. There was an inquisitor, Stefano Bracchi, that was sent on their trail or on their tail. Sorry, Bracchi unleashed a network of spies and informers who stalked the women like prey, reaching into the alleys and brothels, the taverns and churches to find those rumored to be dispensing this tasteless, odorless liquid. So apparently, men didn't feel safe. They didn't know if their broth or their wine would be contained with some of this deadly elixir. And who knew if his wife or mistress or his daughter or sister had crept through Rome's streets and finding, offering this to women, the promise of freedom. So to me, it sounds like it kind of ignited some paranoia amongst men. And it's interesting how they used crimes to capture them for said crimes. It's like, okay, we're gonna stalk them and be creepy as fuck.
So wait. Did men learn how to date rape from that? Did they
Honestly,
learn
like,
how to spike women's drinks from? Did we teach them? Fuck.
God. Okay, now that I need to look into. Like, was she the first one to,
Put
I
things
guess,
in drinks. She
yeah,
couldn't
like
have been.
spike stuff?
She couldn't
Or
have been, right?
I have
One of
to
the comments in
imagine.
here actually does mention, um, says female poisoning rings for abusive husbands have been documented since the dawn of these sexist laws. So she couldn't have been the first one.
Yeah,
There are records of women forming their own languages in societies where they were forbidden to talk about pregnancy or childbirth. That's amazing. I love women.
yeah.
Uh, but yeah, no, that's actually really it kind of puts a different twist on, like, we're talking about morality and perspective, is that, like, the men stalked because the women poisoned because the men abused.
Right?
Like, it's
Like,
just like, what is happening?
this vicious cycle of
What
just
came first, the chicken or the egg?
seriously.
But it is
So,
important. It is important to remember about, the perspective that you're getting information from when you're thinking about how you feel about that information and whether or not you choose to accept that information.
yeah. And apparently the Duke died around the time that the Inquisitor was like, stalking them and investigating them. And when the Duke died, that's actually when the net tightened around this poison enterprise, essentially.
Wow.
And so, yeah, they ended
So
up
they didn't give
getting
a shit.
caught.
They didn't give a shit until a duke died.
Yeah, that's kind of crazy. But
Yeah.
yeah, so I apparently there's a book called A Poisoner's Tale, and it's a dark version of Julia's story that may as well have been true. So I want to read that because that sounds
Yeah.
fucking awesome.
Oh, yeah. I'll read it with you for sure.
Hell yeah.
But as a little bit of a finale here, I just want to leave you with some magical words from our wonderful Wizard of Oz. If you have not seen Wicked, you absolutely should. We were talking about the book earlier. Like the book's a little rougher than the movie and the play are. It is. I mean, I thought it was good, but I like the play better. Anyways, not the point. Um, when
Yeah.
you are talking about perspective and morality, there is a verse, a bridge, a chorus, a part of a song in Wicked called Wonderful that is sung by the Wizard of Oz when he's kind of like defending his actions to uh Elphaba, and he's trying to convince her that it's okay. It just depends on what words you use. But he says, a man's called a traitor or a liberator. A rich man's a thief or philanthropist. Is one an invader or noble crusader? It's all in which label is able to persist. There are precious few at ease with moral ambiguities, so we act as though they don't exist. And that, my dear traumaites. What are we gonna call our fans? I don't even know. Figure that out later. Have to have fans first. Just kidding.
Right.
But on that note, we're gonna let you guys go. We really appreciate once again you logging in and listening to us give all of our 2 cents into the world. I think it's a lot more sense than two at this point. Um, but
Yeah.
we love you. We appreciate you, and just keep on doing the work and trying to figure out life. We'll be here to help you as much as we can. And may Loki be with you.
May Loki be with you always.
Mm.